Well, hello there, and greetings from the Pacific island of Saipan, where I've been for the last 2 weeks almost. I have another 2 days to go here before I head back. I've been coming out here regularly for actually literally a couple of decades to play two regular concerts and shorter performances for students in schools. Saipan is part of a much larger geographic group of islands, which are called Micronesia. This is roughly the islands kind of between Hawaii and the Philippines. Small islands, Micronesia. And I've played on a number of them. And Saipan is where I am now. It's the main island of what's called the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas, which is a U.S. territory. The people here are U.S. citizens. It's about 125 miles or so north of Guam, which is also a kind of territory, kind of similar to Puerto Rico, and those people are also U.S. citizens. Now, I've played in this part of the world a number of times, and played on some of the other islands of Micronesia. For instance, on the island of Majuro, Kwajalein, and Roy Namur, which are islands of the Republic of the Marshall Islands. Then on the island of Pohnpei, which is in the Federated States of Micronesia, FSM, and on the island of Babeldaub, which is the main island of Republic of Palau. Now, these islands became trust territories of the U.S. after World War II, and they decided to go in several different directions. The Marshall Islands, the FSM, Palau became independent, but they have a definite connection still with us in various ways, including being under our zip code postal system. And as I say, the Northern Marianas became a territory, and Guam, we already had Guam since the end of the Spanish-American War in 1898. Interesting islands. Of course, some of them were very crucial during World War II, and battles in World War II, during Majuro and Kwajalein, and several other islands. For instance, the other main islands in the FSM, in addition to Pohnpei, you have Chuuk, C-H-U-U-K, used to be called Truk, big lagoon there. It was a big Japanese naval base there. In fact, there are quite a lot of sunken ships in that lagoon right now. The island of Yap, which is between Guam and the Philippines. I once went to see Yap, also relics from the war there. I saw in a jungle clearing, pieces of, crashed Japanese Zero fighter planes and others, just, scattered around. And here, too, on Saipan, you have war relics. You have a Japanese pillbox, which is very well preserved. You have old artillery. Now, regarding Saipan, that's like I say, it's the main island of the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas. The indigenous people here are of two groups. You have the Chamorros, they've been here for a couple thousand years, and you have the Carolinians, who came from the Caroline Islands much further to the south, and they came in the beginning of the 19th century. Totally unrelated languages, but they are both, part of this island community here. Also many Filipinos here. They're all U.S. citizens, as I said, but there's hardly a white face to be seen here. I mean, there are teachers and a few people who work here and there, but they're really, otherwise, it's rare to see a white face here. There's no American tourism here, which is unfortunate because it's just too expensive to get here. There are no discount airfares to fly out here. From my area in Northeast Ohio to come here, just a normal economy fare is about $2,500. That means it's way more expensive than to go to Europe, for instance. United Airlines has the monopoly here, and there's just hasn't been any discount airline or anything else coming in at all. Even from Guam to here, which is, say, Guam's only 125 miles or so from me. That's about a 25-minute flight. Even that round trip fare is about $500. So it's really it's not good, at all, to promote at least American tourism. There is some tourism here, but it's mostly from Asia. You have South Koreans come here. You had Chinese, and they want to rebuild the Chinese market. There are Japanese. That's also kind of died down, but it's coming up again. They hope to have that improve. And there's been just a smattering of Russian tourism. I've seen a few families here from the Russian Far East. I mean, it's not that far, you know, like the city of Magadan or so on, 3-4 hours. And these other places, you know, Philippines, China, Japan, 3 hours or so. So for those people to come here, it's like coming to a piece of America as we would go to the Caribbean, a tropical paradise, as it were, for them. Now, Saipan and Guam, they have their own immigration procedures. You have to have the same eligibility to enter Saipan or Guam as you would to the mainland USA. But these are not official entry points to the USA. That happens in Hawaii or in San Francisco or Los Angeles if you're going, you know, to the mainland. But you still have to meet the same eligibility requirements here. Saipan was administered by the Japanese after World War I. The League of Nations gave Japan, you know, the right to administer, and of course it remained under Japanese administration until the end of World War II. And of course one of the most famous and bloodiest battles of the war was right here in Saipan. That's why you have some of these relics, you know, around here still. And as I say, after the war, then Saipan and these others became our trust territories for a while. Now, there are 3 other main islands of the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas. You have Tinian, which you can actually see from the southern end of Saipan. It's only about 3 miles offshore. Rota is further south, and to the north there's a volcanic island called Pagan. Now, Tinian is very significant. Tinian is flat, almost like a giant aircraft carrier. In fact, in 1944, the airfield there was called North Field. Was actually the biggest, the busiest airport in the world. Because you had B-29s flying every single day to bomb Japan, you know, from there. And the A-bombs were loaded onto those respective B-29s, Enola Gay and Boxcar, from there. I've seen that site twice. It's in a jungle clearing. You know, you go there and you see something called Atomic Bomb Pit Number 1, and about 500 feet away you have Atomic Bomb Pit Number 2. That's where they were loaded on there. You know, it's like I say, it's in a jungle clearing. Since there's really no tourism, I was the only one there. You know, both times when I went to see that. So it's an historic site in regards to the war. It's on Tinian, so it's on the neighboring island. I have played in Tinian. I have played in Rota also. You know, so I've been to those islands as well. But it's very interesting to see also. But here in Saipan is, you know, as I say, I spend most of the time here, as I say, 2 weeks, and to do the, you know, 2 regular concerts and school concerts. Because the Spaniards were here even before that for a couple centuries. Most of the Chamorros and the Carolinians here are Catholics, just like the Filipinos are, you know, and the same reason here. Saipan is about 14 miles long north-south, maybe 3 miles wide. There is a kind of a spine of, I wouldn't call it mountains, but it's like a hill area in the middle. And there's one mountain there, it's called Mount Tapachao. That's the highest point on the island. There are nice beaches here. There are quite a lot of good restaurants here, good eateries. Gas here costs about $5.20 a gallon right now. But you can't go very far, you know, so if you fill up your tank, you know, it's going to last you a little while, unless you just drive around endlessly, you know. And Mobil and Shell are the main gas companies. There's no big mall here, but there are a couple of shopping centers. There's only one movie cineplex here called Hollywood Theaters. Only one on the other. The roads are quite good. They've been doing repairs on some areas here, so there's a fair bit of construction going on right now. But the roads are really quite good. It's nice to drive here. I mean, there is some traffic sometimes, obviously, but a lot of times, you know, the roads are pretty clear and you know, it's easy to drive here. Now, the economy is quite bad here and has been for quite a while. There used to be a garment industry here, which started to, you know, just go completely out of business around 1990 or so on. As I say, tourism is mostly geared towards Asian tourism. But there are a number of hotels here that are dilapidated, that have gone to seed. There are a couple that are unfinished. It shows the state of the economy right now. And even the hotels that are in good shape, I'm sure they don't have many guests there at all. They look, not empty, but I'm sure there's a very low occupancy there. But there are plans, I think, to start improving, things a little bit in that department. There's one very big eyesore here. The capital town is called Garapan, and there's a huge casino, unfinished, that stands right in the middle. A huge building, by far the biggest structure in Garapan. It was built for Chinese gamblers, but something went awry. Financial mismanagement, I think a pandemic had something to do with it. So it's a huge boondoggle, just sits there. It's unfinished. I think it's slowly rotting inside. But the facade on the outside, boy, it looks like this is a palace of a Chinese emperor. Really, it looks quite impressive, really. But it's just sitting there, and I don't know whether anything can be done with it eventually, or are they going to demolish it completely? There is one other smaller casino here. It's called Saipan Vegas, which does have slot machines and all. And there are also several poker places here as well. So like I say, I've always liked it here, and I've been here so many times. By the way, in 2004, it was the 60th anniversary of the liberation of Saipan, when the invasion, when the U.S. Marines, others came here. And I was invited here to take part in some of the ceremonies. And there's a park that's here. It's called American Memorial Park. And I was part of a USO type show. Now, what a USO type show? This is sort of stuff that Bob Hope used to put on for the troops. It was kind of a variety show. I'd never been in anything like that, or since, I must say. But it was a variety show, and I was put at the very end. Well, I played American music. I played pieces by Gershwin, Copeland, Louis Moreau Gottschalk. There were many Marine veterans who came here for that ceremony, and there was quite an audience there in the bleachers of the American Memorial Park. It was kind of an open stage there. So yeah, it was in 2004, and the keynote speaker, and I met him. The keynote speaker was Colonel Paul Tibbett. He was the pilot of the Enola Gay. And this was his first visit here to the Marianas since the war. He looked like a kind of a kindly, grandfatherly type, and I found later he's from Ohio, actually. So he was the keynote speaker, a bit of a rambling speech, as I remember, and he was also in a parade through the town. The widow of the actor Lee Marvin was here. Lee Marvin had been a Marine here during the invasion. I also remember that my high school history teacher had been a Marine here as well. So with those kinds of people, I met one of those Navajo code talkers. You know what that is. During the war here, that our military used Navajos to speak in their own language, and the Japanese were never able to break any code with them speaking their own language. So I met one of them here. I remember among those veterans. They also invited me at that time to go with them on a historical tour to Tinian. I had already been to Tinian, as I mentioned, seen like atomic bomb pit sites, but I went with them, so I wanted to see it again. And they had a couple of guides there, an ex-general, I remember, and some other higher officer. They were just part of this military historical group. And I still get notices from that group about tours to other battlefield sites around the world. But I did that with them, and that was in 2004. So that was, that was for that 60th anniversary of liberation here. I've pretty much I've done my 2 concerts here, and I'm playing for another school tomorrow, and I'm going to be leaving on Wednesday. Now, how to get here? If you're getting to Saipan at all, what's the best way to get here? High fare or whatever. But just the logistics of getting here. Well, from the mainland, from the USA, generally you can fly either through Guam or through Tokyo Narita, the international airport. I came through Tokyo this time on United. That's the way to do it. You can fly directly. Let's say from Hawaii to Guam, and then take a flight up here from Guam, or you can do the island hopping thing, which I also done. From Hawaii, then go to Majuro, let's see, the Kwajalein, Pohnpei, Chuuk or Kosrae, which are in the FSM, and then Guam. Now, I mentioned Kwajalein, which is in the Marshall Islands. Now, Kwajalein is it's like a little piece of America in a different way. It's a base. It's run by the Army, but they're mostly civilians there. But there are missile tracking stations and other, I think, top security and secret stuff. You see these big white domes, so they have missions there. Because the Kwajalein Atoll is the largest one in the world, and I heard long ago that we use that atoll as a target area. You fire missiles from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California into that atoll. It's very large. And but to go to Kwajalein, you have to have permission from the Army. So, for instance, if you're doing the island hopping flight, and it'll stop in Majuro, then it'll stop in Kwajalein. Well, if you're there is a neighboring island called Ebai, E-B-E-Y-E, and that's a Marshallese island, Marshall Islands. So the people who live there, they have their own immigration procedures to go there. But if you're going to go to Kwajalein, you have to have permission from the Army. And so I've played there about 4 times, and yes, I had some document which was made for me so that I could get off. Otherwise, you sit on the plane will stop at the airport, but you don't get off and go into Kwajalein unless you have that there because of what I just told you. Very flat island. Maybe, I don't know, 3 miles long, very flat. I've ridden bike around it, and I had an electric golf cart there on another visit, but there's really no features that are high. Pretty flat island, Kwajalein. But you can otherwise fly the most direct ways to go west coast through Hawaii to Guam to Saipan to get here, or you go to the west coast, bypass. Let's see. Yeah, you bypass Hawaii altogether. You just go like I did, San Francisco to Tokyo, Narita, and then down here to Saipan. It's only 3 hours from Tokyo, straight south to get here. So, yeah, I like it here. And I've had a lot of free time, and I'm given a car to use here every time I'm here. And there are restaurants who are kind of co-sponsors of my visit, and the way that they do it is for me to be able to eat free meals there, which is nice. That's how they do it. And the Hertz company provides the car, what I'm sitting in right now. So I'm looking forward, to being here again next year. So it's just been a regular thing here. But it's really a kind of, out of the way place, certainly for Americans. As I said, unfortunately, because it's very expensive to get here. But it would be nice if there was an opportunity for them to do that. So these are some things I want to say about these Micronesian islands, about Saipan in particular. I'd like to be able to show you just a couple of things here, but it would have to be a separate video, actually. I'll see we'll make maybe a separate video, but I don't know yet how you join these videos together to make like one video that I could put on their channel. Well, they might have to be separate videos, but I do want to show you just a couple of the war relics that are here, and maybe a couple other things. So I'll think about how to do that. If someone else were driving, but it's just me here right now, it might be easier for me to, because I could then just do it from the car as we're moving, and then get out of the car and then get back in the car and just keep it going. But right now it's just me here, so I've just parked and talk to you like this. So anyways, hope you enjoyed a little bit of information about Saipan, and I'll get back to you soon again. Okay? Bye for now.